Today's video is powered by HAYABUSA. Welcome back to Bazooka Kickboxing and MMA. In today's episode, we're going to discuss 5 different ways you can spot inexperience when watching fights. Today's episode, I'm going to break down 5 different ways that you can spot someone who's really inexperienced in fights when it comes to striking. Even at the highest level of the UFC, you can tell some people just aren't up to the par when it comes to their basics, their footworks, and their distance control. And you can really spot that out. But if you're someone new to combat sports, you kind of assume someone fighting at the highest level should have the perfect types of basics, good fight strategy, but in reality, that's not the case because in mixed martial arts, we have to know so many disciplines. So a lot of times, mixed martial arts, it's difficult to be a specialist in one field because you have to be good in so many. If you want to be a great striker, it takes a lot of time, energy, basic repetition and drilling to get very good. But on the other side, you have to wrestle, you have to make sure that your strength and conditioning is in place. There's a lot to worry about, a lot of different coaches. So it is hard to be a specialist when it comes to striking. But this video, I'm going to show 5 different ways that you can kind of watch and kind of see when you're watching some of these fights to see where the inexperience comes out. Now, the first one I'm going to talk about is no feinting or head movement. So basically you're walking in a straight line, and that's extremely frustrating to watch because you keep getting hit. If I'm walking in a straight line without feinting before I enter or kind of just managing that space, I'm gonna keep getting hit, and that's very frustrating to watch. So when you don't see someone's head moving offline as they're trying to enter and they just keep eating straight, you can tell one fighter has the better distance control and the other one's the better striker because they're managing that space and they're controlling it with their jab. That opponent's not moving the head. Now, the second thing we're gonna see in inexperienced strikers is no level changing. All of a sudden, you just keep blasting off the head, but an experienced striker is gonna use nice probing punches, set up the body, and create a fight that way. And you're gonna also notice in an inexperienced fighter, every punch is with the same power. It's not only at the same target, everything is blasting and wild. Where when you see an advanced striker, there's a difference between pro punches and power punches. So you want to use those setups, those feints, those what I call smoke and mirrors illusion to be able to create the level changes and change the power and intensity, to change the rhythm, change the tempo, and that's how you'll see that advance. So even in one combination, an advanced striker is going to change all of the little subtleties, the levels, the tempos, and it's just going to make their combinations that much more advanced. Now, the third thing you're gonna notice a lot of times in inexperienced strikers is always ending up in the clinch. Every time you throw big punches, big bombs, you tend to overthrow, you fall out of your stance, and you end up in a clinch. And I was actually guilty of this as an amateur myself. I was so concerned with getting a knockout that I sat in the pocket and threw everything with so much power. Yes, I got exhausted, and yes, it was one of the hardest fights I had because I didn't have the gas tank to go on, but that really taught me that I have to use things to set things up. I can't just go in there and overthrow things with too much power. So, one way to control that is controlling the shots, getting control of your footwork, and not having to overthrow things. If you're throwing your right hand and your back foot's lifting up and you're falling forward, that just shows your inexperience. So learning to strike and return to your stance and manage distance is something really important when it comes to striking. Now, the fourth thing really frustrates me with inexperienced strikers is the way you defend knees in the clinch. Now, when you're an experienced clinch fighter, you're gonna swim up top, keep control, always have hands on the biceps because they're trying to elbow you, they're trying to spin you. So having in control of your opponent's hands and in balanced feet, your hips close to your opponent, is all gonna make you defend well in the clinch, stay balanced as they're trying to throw you around. But an inexperienced striker, they think the best way to block a clinch is by bending forward and blocking with their forearms. So while someone's sitting there clinching knee, you see them trying to block, knees with the forearms. And we have seen this at the highest level in mixed martial arts. So that's how you can tell that one person alone is not an advanced one, striker, maybe two, not an advanced mixed martial artist as well, because even if you're defending like this, at that point, you should be trying to grab a knee, trying to grab a single, drive your way for a double. There's things that you have to be doing instead of just sitting there and eating knees in the clinch that way. That is one of the most frustrating things that I hate to see when I watch fights. Now, the fifth and final things you'll see with an inexperienced striker is only one way to win. You can tell there's only one game plan. And the most obvious one you see a lot is someone with that big bombing rear punch. They sit and they wait, they wait, they wait. And all of a sudden, if they don't land that punch, they have nothing else to do. So they're sitting, they're waiting, they're bombing it, they're getting pieced up. Someone's jabbing, evading, slip countering, controlling them in the clinch, taking them down. They never learned the ability to adapt. And going into battle with only one way to win is very difficult with this day and age. Everyone has become an expert. You're seeing now people in mixed martial arts having the ability to wrestle, to strike and wrestle, put things in combination, footwork, distance control, calf kicks. You have to have an ability to change. Another example could even be the calf kick. We've seen so many people focus solely on the calf kick, but if you're fighting someone who's evading it, slipping it, or they're not going down and you're not finishing them, you have to have a plan B. You have to go to something that will let you continue to win the fight or find different setups to go back up there. Now, if I'm hitting the calf kick and all of a sudden my one timing isn't working, I have to have a different timing, a different setup. So martial arts goes beyond the initial level we learn it at, and this is what this video is about. Don't be discouraged if you do one of these things. It just shows that you have some areas to work on. Striking is a big umbrella, so many areas, and it's a lifelong journey. So just use these things, watch it, and see where you could improve. I mean, the most frustrating out of all of them to me has to be the blocking of the forearms in the clinch. So if you're gonna do any of them, fix that one right away, because that's one of the most dangerous for you. Okay, so make sure you keep liking and subscribing to Bazooka Kickboxing and MMA. Make sure you check out our channel sponsors, Hayabusa at HAYABUSAFight.com. Check out their T3 boxing gloves, as you'll see them in all my training videos because they're my personal favorite. Perfect Sports Nutrition, 20% off using the code Bazooka20. All the links in the description below. Go to bazookashop.com if you like any of the merchandise I'm wearing to support the channel. And we'll see you next week here at Bazooka Kickboxing and MMA.